Hey y'all. So I do not have a video devotional today. This will not be a short, but I have had some things on my heart and I really need to share them. And my hope in sharing this is that it helps y'all and it maybe helps put things in perspective for me, because I find a lot of times if I say things out loud, even if I'm the only one in the room, the Lord brings my thoughts together and it brings clarity to things. But for the past several weeks, couple of months, whatever, past while, I have been struggling with some things, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, those types of things. And I have been praying and seeking God about them. These aren't things I've discussed with other people. I've discussed it with my husband, and we've talked about it as a family, but as far as anywhere else, no, not really. But there have been some things happening in our lives that greatly affect us, that greatly affect our family, and I am having a very difficult time. And I'm not the only one. My children are finding it hard. My husband is finding it hard. That's why we wound up discussing it together, because it's just that big of a deal. And so now we are, when I pray about things, especially when they concern other people, I am very realistic. And the first thing I want to do is look at myself, because, and not in a selfish, prideful kind of way, because I have been known to overreact very quickly in the past. And so when I'm praying about something or something bothers me, the first thing I say is, Lord, help me see it the way you do. If I am looking at this wrong, please help me to see it right. Help me to keep my feelings, my emotions in check. Help me to do this right. Because if there is one thing I have learned in living for God and following His word, if something happens and you do not handle it the right way the first time, don't worry. He'll make sure you get another chance to do it right. And the particular thing we are faced with right now, I've had enough. I am sick and tired of it, and so I don't want to be here no more. I don't want to be here again. And truth be told, I don't think I was the one that failed the lesson in the first place to have to deal with it. But anyhow, that's something else I'm praying about, and that's private. But so I've been praying and seeking God. And usually when I do those things, He will say, you need to look at it like this, Katie. You need to shift your focus. You need to change your point of view. You need to do this. Now, I have been praying for all parties involved, because that is what you're supposed to do. And I don't care how you feel about nothing. Prayer is the absolute first thing you should be doing. But I keep coming, and I told my husband this the other night. I said, I keep praying and asking God to show me what I'm seeing wrong, and He's not showing me nothing. And it's like almost driving me insane, because surely I've got to be looking at this wrong, because this is a big deal. And my husband looked at me and he said, He's not showing you where you're wrong, because you're actually not this time. Now, I do have to handle this very particularly. I have to depend on God for every breath I take in this situation. Of course, all the time, but you get what I'm saying. So here we are. And now we're about to have to make some big decisions. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want to make those decisions. Of course, I wouldn't make it on my own. My husband and I together, along with our children, we are a family. And, what affects us affects them. And so I'm not going to, we discuss things with our children. Ultimately, we make the choice, but, what they think, they're 12 and 16, what they think and how they feel is absolutely important to how we go forward in this as a family. And I want us to be led by the Lord in everything we do. And we are in a place right now where decisions are going to have to be made. And I keep hoping and I keep praying that maybe we're not going to have to make these decisions. That, and I know this is wishful thinking, but I'm hoping that maybe God will change my mind and be like, no, you're looking at this wrong. And I'm almost wanting that more than anything right now, for God to shift our perspective to say, hey, look at it like this. Hey, pray like this instead. And because that's the direction he gives us, especially when we're asking him for it. But that's not what I'm getting. And I know it might seem a little vague. I really can't go into more detail than that, but I'm sharing my heart, because sometimes it's not. I was listening to Waymaker. That's what prompted this video. Waymaker came on the radio, and I remembered a time when my husband, years ago, when my husband was in active addiction, and the Lord had, he was taking care of us, and we didn't know what it was going to look like, but he told us everything was going to be fine, things were going to be okay. And I listened to the song. I thought about that time in our lives. God carried us, he protected us, he directed us. I didn't have a clue what was going on. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I didn't know nothing about nothing. I still don't know nothing about nothing. But he never left us for a second. And as long as I turned to him and I prayed and sought his guidance, he listen, if you ask him, he's going to answer you. So if you ask him, God, I need you to tell me what you want to do, because I do not want to walk outside of your will, he will absolutely say, okay, here we go. Now, he's not going, he'll give you one step at a time, but anyways. And as I'm hearing this song and I'm thinking about that time, it brings me back to where we're at right now. And I'm thinking, that was so much worse. Of course he's in this. Even though I'm not hearing him, maybe I'm not hearing him because maybe I'm not looking at it wrong. Maybe it is what it is. Maybe my husband's right. Y'all don't tell him I said that now. I'm kidding, but maybe he is right. Maybe I'm not looking at it wrong, and I'm begging and pleading and digging for God to tell me I'm wrong, so I don't have to make decisions I don't want to have to make. I don't know. Do we do that? Do we do that? And it's just sometimes making the wrong decision is just as bad as not making a decision at all. So I know maybe that was confusing to other people. Maybe you're in a place where you're crying out to God and asking for direction, or you're begging, hoping to see something differently than how you see it, but how you see it is what it is. Maybe this helps you. I hope it helps you. And if anything, y'all pray for me. Pray for my husband and I and our children. Pray for our family, that God will lead us in the right direction. We want to be in his will. We do not want to walk out of what side he wants for us, because I have been there. And I don't want to come out from under where he wants me to be, what he wants me to do, how he wants me to proceed in anything. I want what he wants. And so do my children and my husband. We want what he wants for us as a family. So I love y'all, and I will see you next time.